In this episode, Erik interviews Juan of Innovative Auto Service out of Oklahoma City. We are honored to be a part of his business team. DeMar Consulting Group's finance department services offer comprehensive financial management, allowing you more time to grow your business and make data-driven decisions. We would love to be on your team too.
All right, Juan. Well, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate your time. I know you've had a great, history of starting a company and bringing it to a pretty healthy size of revenue. And I know you've got big plans for the future. What inspired you to start, your business in the first place? Like, why did you want to work for yourself?
Well, I think it was two things. The first one was my boss. I used to work for a car lot. That's where I learned to work on cars. So they changed managers at that place. And the new manager wanted to make some changes. So he ended up firing the whole service department. So I was without a job. And my brother is the second thing. He had been wanting to start a business for a long time. He was more entrepreneurial than me. I just like to work hard and make a good living for my family. So when I got fired, I went to work construction for like 2 weeks, and it was a lot harder than I was doing. And my brother, when they fired me, he goes, "Hey, we should start our own shop." And just to have some context, I had been working as a mechanic for 3 years at that time, so I didn't feel I had the experience. Plus, all I wanted was to make a good
How old were you when you made that decision? Okay, 3 years of experience. I'm gonna just start my own shop.
21.
21. Wow.
Yeah.
So you started working on cars pretty much straight out of high school.
During high school, so I had some uncles that were mechanics. So in the afternoons, they were doing side jobs, and I was helping them in the afternoons and the weekends. But I was just a helper. I was just like, they would tell me what to do, like clip parts or remove that bolt and stuff like that. And then when I was in high school, my senior year, I got my wife pregnant, and I had to drop out of high school. And at that place where they were working, like all three of my uncles were working at this car lot, and they got me a job there to be their helper. So it was really good for me because back at that time, I wanted to be an engineer. So I wanted to go to college to design systems for the cars. I like the cars and stuff, and I couldn't do that because I had to start supporting my new family.
Yeah. Wow. That's, excuse me. So why did the old shop you were working for, why did they decide to just fire everybody?
So the new manager came in, and back at that time, so when I started out the shop, we had a manager at the shop. We had my three uncles were very good mechanics. They had a lot of experience. And then they hired me as a helper. And then we got my brother to start working at the shop as a parts chaser. And by the time when I got fired, like 3 years later, I was the one running the shop. And my manager, the shop manager, had went to manage the whole car lot. And my brother had gone to sales. They had fired two of my uncles, and it was just me and one of my uncles working there. And then we had a helper. He was just like ocean dirt. And me and my uncle were doing all the work. And when we got this new manager, he wanted different things done. And so he came and talked to me one day, and he goes, "Hey, like, I need you to boss the other guys around, and I need you to tell them what they got to do. And when they're not doing the things right, I need you to get them in trouble." And I go, "Well, you got to pay me more for that because I'm not getting paid for that." And he goes, "What are you talking about? We're paying you to run the shop." And the deal I made with my old manager was that I was gonna do the invoices and track the parts and all that for $100 more a week. So I was still doing I was chasing the parts that my brother was chasing before. I was fixing my own cars, and I was running the shop, like talking to the customers, ordering parts and all that stuff for $100. and me and my uncle were we were good at working on cars, so we would pull in a lot of cars. We're pulling all the retail work, warranty, and then stuff that they promise to customers. And when you're working in a car lot, salespeople have to look good to the customers, and sometimes they want stuff done right away. And we couldn't do that. We had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Everything had to be scheduled, so they wanted stuff done sometimes. So the salespeople, when we got this new manager, one of them was really good. He got really close to the manager, and so they were saying that we weren't doing our job right. And when he said that, he goes you got to do that, or the bosses won't be happy. And I go, well, if you got paid me more, I'll do it for more money. I won't do it for more for not money, because in the end it was my uncle, and then the other guy was my cousin, so I had to be the boss, and it wouldn't have been a good situation. So he goes, do you want to do it? And I go I don't want to do it if it's not for the right money. And he goes, well, if I go to the owners and tell them that, they might fire you. And well, that's fine. If I'm not doing what you guys need me to do, it's fine if you take me out and go for someone else. When I feel that you guys are not paying me what I want, we'll look for another place. And so I'll say probably a month later, there was a situation where a customer had to wait there all day. And when he came back on the Monday, they told him about that, and then he just decided to fire us the next week.
Oh boy. So it sounds like you guys were at capacity, and it didn't matter if you were in that role or if somebody else was in that role. That customer that had that bad experience, they would have been waiting there regardless of who was running the shop at the time.
And the main issue is that customers were supposed to drop off cars, not wait for the cars. So this customer didn't have somebody to take him home, so he decided to wait at the car lot. And then the manager has changed where we bought the parts, because he thought I was getting a deal, under the table. So he goes, I don't want you. Yeah, he goes, I don't want you to buy parts from this place anymore. I want you to buy parts from this new place. And that new place had really bad delivery system and didn't have enough parts. So we ordered the part for his truck, and we ordered it around 11 in the morning, and the part got at the shop at 3 in the afternoon. Because they brought one, and then they brought this part at 3 in the afternoon, and it was not a good part. So I had to order from the other plates just to get the right part. And so by the time we got the new part, the right part, it was already 5. So we finished the truck and everything, and he took it. So he was mad about the customer waiting all day, and then about me ordering parts from the old place.
Yeah.
And just to put it into perspective, if what we were doing was right or not, when they fired us, so it was me, my uncle, and a helper. That guy had no experience working on cars. And when they fired us, they hired 4 techs, they hired a manager, and they hired a manager assistant just to do less than what we were doing.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So then
that was a good.
Well, I'm sure if we went into business for ourselves, we could do the same amount of work with less people and have, run a more profitable shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the end, that ended being a good thing for me, because after 2 months of the car lot having the new people, the manager called me and he goes, hey, because we were in Nevada, because they didn't want to pay my vacations. And he goes, hey, come to the office, let's settle this. So I went to the office, and he goes, hey, they owed me 3 weeks of vacations. And he goes, I'll pay you 1 week of vacations, and I'll give you work. That was awesome. I go like, no, don't pay me the week. We had a lift there that they weren't using as much. I go, give me that lift that's outside the shop, and I'll start doing work for you. So it was great. You know, it was in 2004. I was getting paid $600 after tax a week, and when he started giving me work, I was getting paid for less work, but 3,600 a week.
What? You went from $600 a week to $3,600 a week doing less work.
Yeah.
Because you were now
A contractor.
you were a contractor
Yeah.
from the same person that fired you.
The same person that fired me. Yeah.
They ended up hiring you back as a contractor.
Yeah.
But paying you $3,600 a week.
Around 30. Well, it was depending on what I did, but the work that we were doing for them, that's what I amounted to, around $3,000 a week. And it was great because, you know, like I was starting my business, so we had enough flow of work. Like I didn't know any marketing or any of that stuff, or didn't have any customers, so we had constant work and well paid too.
Well, I think a lot of people struggle with, like, it's, you know, when you're starting a business, there's a lot of startup costs, especially in your industry. You have, you know, a big startup cost is all the equipment and the space. You know, you've got to commit to when you got your first lease for a place, how many months was that lease that you had to commit to?
It was a year.
A year. So you had to commit to a year. And I assume you didn't have just a year's worth of rent and equipment just laying around. So
yeah. And you know, in 2004, I had just my second son was born in 2004. 2004, I got fired around I think October of 2004, and I bought my new house in like July 2004. So I had a new mortgage, I had a new kid, and I had very small savings, like $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
And you know, like the greatest thing is that my brother, he was more entrepreneurial than me, and he was in sales, so he was making more money than me. And so he's really the one that started the business. I was the one with the talent, but he was the one that really started the business. Because, like I said, I went to work construction because all I needed is to replace my paycheck, and construction was paying me the same thing that I was getting working on cars. A lot harder though. And my brother, he went and leased the place, started the LLC, and he just called me, hey, I have everything. We should start the business now. So I don't know if you know, but in construction, you're very dependent on weather. So one week there's got to be rain like the whole week, so we wouldn't be able to work. So we'd only work like Monday and Tuesday, and then the rest of the week we weren't gonna be able to work because of rain. And that's when I went to start my business. So next Monday I just had my shop and didn't come back to construction.
How were you able to get a lease on a place? How many bays did it have?
It had 3 bays, but one was not usable. So that bay, that the door was like locked. They hadn't used it in a long time, so we were only working off of 2 bays.
Okay. And how did you convince the building owner to give you guys a lease? Did they require a business plan? Did your brother put a down payment down? Or?
He did. My brother put a down payment in, and then we had I think he put like 6 months of the rent.
Oh, a 6-month down payment? You put it down? So you guys did have savings.
My brother, like I said, he was making good money. So and the place wasn't as expensive. So it was like we were doing most of the work outside of the shop.
Oh,
So it wasn't like the greatest place.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is back in 2004.
Yeah.
You had 6 months of savings.
So it was like, I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like 600 a month for the lease. And so he ended up spending like 3,600 for the lease. And then they already had a compressor there. We bought fuel tools. And then he got someone to do the LLC, like get the business up and running, the bank account and everything. And I think we're in like 5,000 start the business.
5,000. Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. So your brother had all that money. He put it down and you guys went to work. And how did you get so you were doing contracting work for the shop that fired you.
Yeah.
And you were doing construction work. And then you decided to just stop all of those. So you eventually you went in and had no income coming in, I assume for a short time period. Or did you guys start getting new customers right away? And if so, how did you do it?
Yeah, so we started getting like customers. So when before I opened the shop, I stopped working at the construction. And then, so we started working, there was like a lot of car lots around me, like used car lots. And we started, I think probably like the second week, we started making about enough to take half of what I needed home. So the good thing is that with the $600 I was making a week at the place where I was working, I was living probably on half of that. Like I wasn't, like my expenses were very low. So I could make a decent living just on half of that. I wouldn't make all the, like going to eat out like on the weekends and like buying new shoes or stuff like I didn't have money for that. But we started getting a few customers, and it was just like when we started, it was me and one of my cousins working in the shop. My brother, he stayed working at the car lot. So we just started getting enough customers to do work, and like I said, like a month later, that's when my old manager gave me work, and then we were busy all week long.
So he was sending you guys clients that he couldn't take
their own cars. Like they couldn't get all the retail work done with the Ford Techs that they had now. So they were sending all the retail work to us, or like the hard stuff that they couldn't finish, they were sending it to us. So we're probably working on about probably 10 to 15 cars, between 10 and 20 cars a week for them.
So he fires you, and then he basically helps you start your new shop.
Yeah, he kind of like pour fuel into my business to get it started. Yeah.
Wow.
So he's got to be the one that takes all the credit for me starting the business.
Oh man, I love that. Do you ever have you stayed in touch with him at all, like over the years? Or
my brother still talks to him. Like I never got close to him, so I haven't talked to him. Like my brother still, like we just sold the car to him like 2 months ago. Yeah.
I'd love to have to talk to him as well and see what he thinks now that he lost.
In the end he ended not being there for very long, because he came from a new car dealership to a used car dealership, and in his role at a new car dealership, they have different departments and different managers at the used car place. The one manager runs the whole departments, like everything, like customers and service and everything, buys and sells. So he ended up not being there. I think he only was there for a year.
Oh, he was only where for a year at the
car lot where he fired me. I think he only worked there for a year or a year.
Oh, okay. So you were working at a shop that was at a used car dealership. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that's a very cool story. And how did you market the business in your early days? Because you guys didn't have money to invest in a lot in marketing, I assume.
Yeah. So the only thing that we market at the beginning, it was just our word of mouth. I had no idea on how to run a business for the first 15 years. So I'll say around, I think it was 2018. Yeah, 2018. Of course, we weren't making enough money, or like expenses go up, and in my business, since I wasn't doing any marketing, I had no systems. I wasn't even checking my P&Ls. I was getting P&Ls, but I didn't even know what to look in the P&L. I just knew that was for taxes, so I was just doing it for tax reasons. And around 2018, my cousin, the one that started working at the shop with me, I was talking to him, and I go like, dude, I got to do something different. Like, I'm getting older, so I was getting slower at working on cars. I'm not making enough money. Like 1 month, I could have a really good month and have some money to take home, like some spare money. But then the next month would be low, so I would take from that money. So I was going like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I go like, I got to do something different. I'm just not making enough money. To be honest, I was more successful when I was at the car lot. When I started at those years, I was growing like a lot when I went to open my shop and all that. And then I just stopped growing, and I was being less successful at that in 2018 than I was at 2004. And I go like, I just don't have a retirement plan. I'm not making enough money. I'm getting slower. This business is not doing what I want. And he goes, well, you should read Rich Dad Poor Dad from Robert Kiyosaki. You go, who is that? And he goes, well, he's a real estate guy and stuff. So I did that. I bought the book, I read the book, and when I read the book, I go like, wow, this is the way you make money, not the way I'm doing it. Like, like this is because I had always heard that you gotta get your money to work for you instead of you working for the money. And I just never knew how to put my money to work. Like I was good at saving. I could save a lot of money, but I never got it to work. So when I read that book,
what were some of the lessons in the book that you took and implemented in your life?
So one of the things is, I don't know if he says it on that book or I heard it somewhere else, but the first things you got to learn in life is, how to make money. And then once you learn how to make money, you got to learn to keep it. I mean, saving it, not spend it at all. And once you learn how to save it, here's where the big changes come. When you learn how to multiply that money. When that money starts multiplying by itself, that's when you really become wealthy. And like I said, back in those days, like in 2007, 2008, I had up to 30,000 saved up. And I never put any of it to work. And I know if I had gotten that money to work for me back then, I would be a lot better today. So that was one of the things. The second thing is, so he goes like, you got to go to seminars and start learning. And that's really, I think, as long as you're learning and implementing what you're learning, you'll get whatever you want to. You'll get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So I started going, like, I'm an introvert, and I started going to seminars, and it was like hard to be around people, in a different environment. Because, like, I was working on cars, and all the people that I was around is people who, like, drink on the weekend and talk about social media stuff or news and stuff like that. And then I went to the seminars where there's like very successful people, and they're talking about how they accomplish their dreams and stuff. And so I started getting coaching. Like those 30,000 I had saved up, they all went into coaching around real estate. And when I went to the seminars, the real estate seminars, they teach you how to build a business. And I go, oh well, that's probably one of the reasons I'm not making money in my shop. I didn't have a sales system. I wasn't doing no marketing. I didn't have any KPIs to track. P&L, I had never studied my P&L. And I had I really had no business up to that point. I only had a bad paying job. That's all I had. I didn't have no business. And you know how they have the saying that, or the data that most of the business fell in the first 5 years. And I go like, well, I'm like 15 years into it and I haven't failed, so I must be good. The truth is that back then I didn't have a business. Like all I had is a bad job. So that's the only reason I hadn't failed. Because once I started implementing or turning my shop into a business, I was at the brink of failing, because now I had all these expenses that are required to have a business. And I wasn't good at the systems, and I wasn't good at recruiting people. And I'm still like at the very, very starting point of my business, where at least to where I want to meet it.
So you went into these seminars hoping to get into the real estate business, but what you really got out of it was how to operate your existing business, which is the auto shop that you have. That's,
I went into seminars and I saw people doing what I wanted in less than 5 years. And I go like, oh my God, I'm fixing cars and these dudes are getting all this money flipping real estate. What am I doing here? I gotta stop working on cars and start flipping houses. Because I don't know if you, like, I think most of us have dreams about where we want to be, but most of those dreams are like fantasies, right? Because before I started going to the seminars, I wanted to help my community. I wanted to help my mom. I wanted to have this awesome life, and I wanted to travel all around the world, and I wanted to have a lot of money. But that was a fantasy, because I would have never been able to do that. I didn't have a way to get there. I didn't have a way to accomplish those things. And when I went into the seminar, I saw people that started where I was, and they were already doing that type of stuff. Like they were creating schools to help people in need in like different countries. They had already retired their parents. They were making a lot of money. They were taking great vacations with their families and friends and all these things in the matter of 5 years. And I was like, oh my God, that it is possible. Like the only reason I haven't done it is because I didn't want it really before. So I never really thought it was possible. I wanted it, but I didn't think that it was possible. So I never worked to try to get it.
Yeah, you just didn't have the knowledge of what it takes to actually do this. That's inspiring. And then so it sounds like you ended up taking all of your savings and you poured it into gaining that knowledge. And how long ago was this?
2019.
2019?
Like the end of like October of 2019.
Yeah.
And I poured in all my savings and I poured in all my credit, because they taught me how to double my credit, and then we spent it all in that. And in the end, it wasn't a good experience. Not because whatever they were teaching wouldn't work, but like when I was thinking when I got into this big debts, I was thinking that I could make $1 million in a year, uh, and pay everything that I got into, and then have spare money, start supporting my mom. And the truth is that, yeah, there's people that did it in 5 years. There's people that do it even faster. But the difference is these people are farther ahead on the road. So they already have certain skills. And when they come to the seminars, they acquire, the missing piece to the puzzle, and they explode. And back then, I was just a mechanic. And believe it or not, there's a lot of mindset blocks that we have. Coming from a low income community, being a Hispanic, you don't see very many successful Hispanics. So you don't have the belief that you could do it, or that it's easy for someone like you to do it. So even though you see it, you don't believe it yet. And there's a lot of work that has to go into it. And plus my leadership skills were bad. My sales skills till this day are bad. Marketing, it is still a struggle for me. And management, all these different skills that you need to be successful. I'm good at looking at the numbers and putting in the work, but I'm still not great every other skill. And I spent a lot of money, and I put a lot of stress in my life. And I went like deep into a hole where I didn't want to go, because to get to a place where you want to be, or like if you have like a dream life, like if you want to get to the dream life, you got to get the knowledge, you have to apply it, but then you have to be patient, because it's gonna take time to get there for you to grow. If you don't grow, your business will not outgrow you. You have to grow yourself first before your business starts catching up to you.
That's very good advice. I like that. So what has changed since you got all that knowledge in your business? Has it affected, have you met some of the goals that you originally set out to achieve?
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't. But my wife at one point goes like, you should stop what you're doing and just go back and work on the cars and just do that. You can make more money that way. And I could probably make more money working on cars for someone who has a good system. And like she goes like, why don't you just go back to what you were doing before? Like now you have all these expenses and all these things, and you're just making the same money. And I got like, the biggest difference is that, some days you get caught in where you want to go and don't pay attention where you are at. And when I walk through my business, when I'm by myself, I'm my own shop now. Going back to where I started, this is my dream. This is my dream accomplished. Like before, I dreamt about having what I have now, and I didn't think I could do it. But to where I want to go is like far, like a lot farther, right? What I've accomplished so far is like beautiful. Like walking in my shop, like I have, when I started before, I would do sales, I would work on the car, I would clean the shop, I would go get parts, I was doing before. That's what I knew. Like the only thing I knew is how to work hard. And then when I started with the real estate thing, like I gotta hire someone to do some of the stuff that I do, so that way I could do the real estate thing. And I hired a guy to be my advisor to do the sales. And at first, since I was used to doing everything, I could work on the car, talk to a customer, call for a part. While I was working on the car, I could talk to the guys while I was working on the car. And when I hired that person, like the first month, I go like, do I really need him, or I just got another expense on me? And I was still thinking that I really didn't need him. And this is around COVID. So he got COVID and he was out for a week. And I had to do everything again. And I go like, oh my God, this is a lot of work. So it's taking a lot from me. And I couldn't do it anymore. So I started noticing all those things. Like having him now, like 80% of the work is done without me getting on cars. And before it was everything on me.
Wow, that's incredible.
So like I told her, like I told her, like, you know, like I cannot go back to that because before I only had a job, like, and it was like a bad paying job. Like I could go work for someone. If I'm not gonna go back to that, I could just go work for someone and make more than what I was making. Now I'm building a business. Now this, even though it's still not where we wanted to be, this is building enterprise value. And this one day will work without me. And this one day could pay us for a few years of income before we even go those years ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you're, growing this business so that it does meet your goals, what changes are you making in the way that you run the company?
Oh, I had to do the hardest thing that I have ever had to do just last week. I had to fire a guy, and I think that makes the biggest change in your business. Not firing someone, but putting the right people in place. That's the main thing in order to have a great business. Because I want to have a great business. I don't want to have a good business. I have a good business right now, but I want to have a great business. So in order to have a great business, I have to have the right people in place. And this person I fired last week, he was a really close friend. I even consider him family. And I have never fired someone. So I don't like confrontation. And that's probably bad for a business owner or a manager, or at least for a manager, it's bad because you gotta let people know when they're doing something wrong. And I really don't like that. So I had to fire him, and it was hard. I liked him a lot, and I hope that whatever comes for him is better than what he had here. He wasn't the right person for the shop. He didn't want to grow, and he was kind of like, oh. But that's what I'm working on now. I'm working on two things: getting the right people in my business in order for us to give a service of excellence to our clients. And the second one, the most important one, is I'm still working on myself. I'm starting to work a lot on my inner self, my mindset, and get to the right place. Because, like the worst thing that we do is our self-talk. We talk really bad about ourselves. And that's why I don't remember who said it, but it says you gotta be kind to yourself. Because you could be kind to some other people, like my friend there. I didn't fire him for a long time. I had to fire him about 2 years ago, and I didn't fire him because I wanted to be a kind person. But to myself, sometimes when you're not able to accomplish the things, or when you fail yourself, you are very harsh on yourself. And that's what I'm working on my self-talk, the way I think of myself, and being kinder to myself.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we could wrap it up. That was some great advice that you gave, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.